Your greatest asset and your real estate is your name and what people feel about yourself. As a young person, put the experience you get above any financial benefit. Most times, your relationship with food reveals your relationship with money. You don't have to be a duplicate copy of your mentor. And know that your mentors and your coaches are not perfect human beings. In place of your journey, you can meet people who are just like as if they're on assignment to make your life miserable. Being self-aware is very important for you as a leader, because if you're not self-aware, it's like going into a room and your dress is torn and everybody has seen it, but you don't know that your dress is torn.
Hello everyone, welcome to Stories and Journeys, where we explore the transformative power of learning, growth, and resilience. Join us as we uncover untold narratives and ignite curiosity. My name remains Oyedeji Oluwatimileyin. And joining us here today is an amazing person, a leader across the African continent and globally, someone with so much depth, experience, impact in ensuring that Africa takes its rightful place on the global scale. She currently sits on numerous boards and has won numerous awards with so much impact, impacting on lives of people, ensuring that organizations maintain top standards and are consistent across various touch points. She is currently the CEO at Africa Private Sector Summits. She's an international consultant, policy advisor, and an author of an amazing book that I hope we'll get to review on this session. She's no other person than the quintessential Dr. Lucy Newman. Hi, Dr. Lucy.
Hi, Timmy. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Halfway, I was wondering whether you were describing somebody else. Thank you for the compliment.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be here. And congratulations to you with the works that you do.
Thank you.
It's very profound, and given the population of youths in Africa and the stage we are, this is very important.
Thank you so
I'm
much,
happy
Ma.
to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Ma. It's so much of an honor for me personally, to have you here. I first came in contact with you a few years ago when you were CEO at FITC, driving so much impact, very focused, very extremely focused, and for me, it was at a point in life when I wasn't clear on what the future holds, but to see a mother, a woman leading such a great institution and empowering our people, it still lives. And since that time, I have it somewhere in my mind, and I'm so much delighted to have you here. And I hope that our audience as well will learn so much from you, from your wealth of experience. And we'll get straight to it.
Thank you, Timmy. Honored to be here, and thank you for the compliments.
No problems. Thank you so much, Ma. It's been over 4 decades, right, with you and the impact that you've been driving, as a leader. But I want you to cast your mind back. When you were about to start, at the Boardroom Investment Company in 1987. Try to connect the dots till now, over 4 decades. What has that journey been like for you, Ma?
Thank you, Timmy. Interesting, you went back to BICL, as we call it, Boardroom Investment. BICL marks a very important time in my career in that I served my NYSC at BICL. I started part of my MBIC with UVA in Makode, but later I moved to Maiduguri after my marriage and I started working with BICL. For you as a youth corper to finish serving and the place where you served wanted to retain you, that was a big compliment for me, because most times after NYSC, they let you go But I guess they got something, and as a result of that, I actually stayed back at BICL for almost 10 years, growing through the ranks. And even when I left, it was a semi-leaving because they sent me to a subsidiary in Lagos. That time during the privatization, the Nigerian Food Company was acquired, and because of work that I was doing in the investment promotion arm of BICL, which involved turnaround of companies and all that, they sent me to Nigerian Food Company as the general manager at that time. And that brought me to Lagos, and it was at the peak of the riots. After the elections. For me, that journey was profound because you were, first of all, a staff from Youth Corps, and then you became even to principal manager in charge of investments, where they were giving me portfolios of companies that were listed in the portfolio of foreign investment. And I was attending annual general meetings of companies like Lion of Africa and all that, BWAC and all those people, and looking at the portfolio, analyzing financial statements, and attending the meetings on behalf of the state, because the Boardroom Investment was the portfolio manager for the investments in the flow of the stock exchange. So from that, analyzing ratios of companies and all that, and then I saw what goes on. That led me also to, okay, when these companies are doing so bad, the banks come in and they want to take everything. Why does the bank feel entitled? I wanted to find out how the banking system works. So after Boardroom Investment, I joined Omega Bank. From Nigerian Food Company here, I started with Omega Bank. I went to FSB that time. And then I was at FSB when we had mergers and acquisitions. And I was part of the transformation team that was working with the consultants to merge 3 banks into one. That's FSB, Fidelity, and then the other one was the other one, I've forgotten. Years. So we joined it, money. So we were to join it all to be Fidelity day one. There's 1 bank, 3 banks, 3 cultures, and I was on the 10-man team. That one also gave me an extension of my transformation works to see this is a financial institution, then 3, and then all the complications, merging, harmonizing, parallel run of systems, combining politics and policies and all that. Then I got thrown in at the deep end of transforming the bank, and I was right in the middle in the HR team about placement of people and people resuming at the same place and all that. Immediately after that, I got an invitation also to UBA. They were trying to bring one culture after Standard Trust Bank and UBA, so that when you walk into any branch, let it look like the same one bank. So I was there briefly, and then I had worked so much with consulting teams, and I loved the independence of consultancy, because as a staff in this organization, you have to go through the hierarchy and all that. But when you see these young managers that are in the consulting firm and they are talking to the CEO, like, what? I like that liberty. And then if you write something as a staff, it goes through the process. When it comes from the firm, it's like, whoa, that's gospel, and all that. So I got into PricewaterhouseCoopers. But I was interested I love the liberty of crisscrossing functions. I wanted to see the full picture. So I was looking for a firm that was open to allowing me to explore. I looked at a few organizations, and PwC gave me that liberty to be there, and I got myself into the business advisory area. So I got the liberty of giving the advice from the business advisory from the side that I used to be before. So that gave me that perspective, and I learned a lot at PwC because I got exposed to so many things, and then I got the frameworks that had been tested over time. So at that time, PwC was like a 100-year-old organization with the headquarters in the US, and we're working with people from across the continent, different centers of excellence across. And then some projects entailed collaborating with people from other firms, and that really, even up till now, I look back and know that I got experiences, but the depth I got at PwC is second to none. And I found that useful in running FITC because most times when you at PwC, I was in the client-facing area, but because I had depth in my practice, there was a time the HR person for the firm had to go away suddenly. And because I was the champion, I got to be the staff champion. The partners gave me the opportunity to lead the HR internal firm HR team. So that gave me the inner workings of the firm, which most times people are at the service providing, not how the firm works. And later on, I also went for the assessment center to identify fast-track leaders. And I was on that pipeline to leadership when I got a text that time from somebody who says, "Lucy, I saw this advert in the newspaper. I read it and immediately I thought about you. I think you should apply for that role." It's a colleague, So I said, "Which newspaper?" "I don't know." "Which day?" "I don't know, but it was last week." So I was like, what kind of information is that? So I left the text message. That time there was no WhatsApp. I left the text message. The thing was disturbing me. So when I went back, I sent my driver to Marina to go and buy all the past newspapers. I came back home and I spread the papers on the floor and I told my children, "Oh yeah, search through these newspapers, find any role that the CEO cut it out, the whole page and give it to me." So they cut out a couple of them. As I read, I saw one. And that was the one that was resonating because they wanted somebody from financial system who understood all those kind of things. And it was actually looking like I was being described. And there was something funny about that position too. Destiny plays a chess game with us. And if you're sensitive and you're conscious and you're aware, you can flow with destiny and you walk into purpose. So when I saw the papers, because in PwC we used to do executive selection too. And sometimes when we advertise for an organization that doesn't want to name its name, you go to their site and describe the organization the way they describe themselves and you use it as a descriptor. So because I was used to that, when I saw that advert, I typed out everything and put it in Google and it took me to the homepage of FITC. So I now knew it was FITC that was recruiting, and I applied, and then the interview was very tough. To start with, you're invited for an interview and you're going to NDIC, for the interview, and then the deputy governor is interviewing you and the MD of NDIC and the deputy governor, because of the nature of FITC, and you've heard newspaper press releases about banks that have been delisted, and this is the person that led the discussion, and then you are now face to face with this person and he wants to interview you. It was quite deep, but I'm a curious person and I was brought up to not to be intimidated. So to be curious than intimidated. So I went for the first leg of the process and all that. And then funny enough, later in the year, I was doing the review of one of the managers that was working with me at PwC, and I saw that the person did client acceptance for FITC. I was like, what? By that time, I was almost at the end of my conversation with them. So when I saw that client acceptance, I knew, because maybe that time we had a big project and most of us were on that project. It was a long-term project, almost like a few years. When I even left, we were still on that project. So I think when they came for the request for proposal, I was not in the office. So they gave one of the people to do the client acceptance. So I now later saw that the response to FITC was that the team is very busy, they can't participate in this process, so they didn't go ahead. The irony is that had it been we had accepted, I would have been involved in that process and I wouldn't have...
We must take the opportunity.
Destiny. That one just hit me. So that's how it has been. And when I went to FITC, my going to FITC was more about attraction. I love the challenges of strategies. People get intimidated by strategy, but I actually get excited when I see a strategy plan, how the excitement of making it work and then looking how far you've gone and all that. And as at that time, FITC had a very strong role to play in FSS 2020. which was the financial system strategy to place Nigerian financial system in the top 20 in the world.
Interesting.
So that was very exciting for me. And for that, and I also now had an opportunity. I had worked in investment, and I have seen how the companies come together and all that. And I've worked in banks, and I've seen how they have to negotiate their moratorium, how the treasury works, because I was involved in developing products, and all that. And then now I have an opportunity to work with a regulator to build the capacity of the system. So it's like going the whole
Full circle.
And that's how I found myself at FITC, which I had a wonderful time, because many people get scared of taking a contract role because you were in full-time employment. But because of that, my wish for liberty and my wish for independent consulting as an individual with my personal name as a brand that I had been curating over the years, I saw the FITC role that was contract, renewable 5 years, subject to me being up to 60, as a pathway to that independence. So I wasn't scared of the contractual. But some people, if you tell them the role is contract, they're like, I'm leaving paid employment, I'm going to contract, I'm scared. But I was excited. I saw it like, ooh, thank you, Lord. I have a transition. So when I was in FITC, I had the mindset of FITC as my client. Even though I was the CEO, I felt I was on a treadmill of 5 years of my tenure, because when I joined FITC, they had a strategy plan. And based on the strategy plan that they had, the plan was 5 years. So by the time I joined them, they were in the 3rd year. So I requested for the board to allow me come up with a new plan that is 5 years, which is technically my performance plan. Because it's a 5-year tenure and I have a 5-year strategy. And they approved. When they approved, by the 3rd year, we had achieved our 5-year strategy. So we had to extend. And at that 5-year, they just automatically renewed my tenure. But I told them I was going to be there for only 5 more years. I had a timeline of 10 years. So that was the journey to FITC and how I evolved. And then now I had seen the bank side, I've seen the company performance. Then I now came to the realization that some people sit in a room and what they decide affects the whole system. And they can make the company go belly up. What happens in that room? I want to know. That's why I got into governance. Because most times when we're in PwC, if we want to deliver a process, we like to present it to management so that it will be done. So that also brought me closer to the management team. And you remember that when I was in Bono Investment, when they take over a company, the first thing they fire is the management and the board. So I was like, okay, now they're all gone. Why did they go? What mistakes did they do? Those curiosity, performance improvement things. That's how I got into governance. And also at FITC, I had privilege of being at the West African Bankers Association. And because I'm somebody who does not tell people to do something that I myself am not doing. So most of the services that we're offering at FITC, I made sure that there were things that clients can come and see it being done. So when we're doing that, an IFC wanted a partner. They were happy to see that we're not just delivering the services, but we're also practicing what we were saying. And as a result of that, they chose us to collaborate with them, first of all, for Nigeria. Thereafter, they added a few countries in West Africa. So by the IFC work and with the membership of FITC on West African Bankers Association, I started to travel around Africa. I've always been a curious traveler. I have holidays that I've traveled with, all that. And then in doing that, I saw the African space. And I saw that now I see the hearts of the people, I see the resources, and I see the situation. There's no connection. So later on, IFC introduced us and we formed the African Corporate Governance Network. And as a result of that, we were collaborating and meeting with different institutes of directors across Africa. That means we need to go to different African countries. And we also collaborated with the Financial Accrediting Agency in Malaysia. And I traveled to Asia. I schooled in the US. I've been to Europe. And I see everywhere. what is wrong with Africa? So after FITC, I took 2 years career break. I went to INSEAD for my certification. I had been teaching governance. I've been certified by IFC, but I wanted a credential. So I went to INSEAD for certification, but I wanted it to be on an international board so that they took in the issue of cultures, not cultures as in tribes, but cultures in different continental perspectives, and the dynamics of being on a board and how it must all add up to improve the organization. In doing that, I got the inspiration to write my book.
Yes.
And then when I wrote the book, I had a launching and I wanted to tie it to the Africa Industrialization Day, which was in November. And I made it virtual because I had many people all over the world that I wanted to attend, but I wanted it as a closed thing. And in that meeting, somebody who attended the meeting and saw the way the book was and said, there's one man visiting Nigeria. I need to meet that person. I went and we had an appointment with the person and we had lunch in Ekwe. And my husband said, yes, let's take him to lunch. We had to keep to lunch. And we were all sitting together, 4 of us. And the elderly man kept asking me questions. So that person is now, whom we know as Mr. Wendell Addy, was the founder of APSS. He's half Liberian, half Ghanaian. He's an American. He has been in the US for more than 4 decades. And he's so passionate about Africa. He has done so many things concerning Africa. So he read the book and he kept asking me questions. I didn't know that the more answers I was giving, the more I was getting deeper. Later, when he left, he invited me to a WhatsApp group, and I was in that WhatsApp group. They used to do random conversations about Africa, and once in a while I drop an opinion and all that. Later, he now asked me if I want to work with them. So I asked that I need time off to think and reflect, because I usually I don't take on roles without consulting with God and my inner self. I'm not a religious person, but I'm God conscious, and I want to always be in God's timing and seasons. So I asked for time. Later on, I was still reflecting when I got this. I just woke up one morning and I was sitting down at the table and drawing things. My husband saw me and said, sweetheart, what are you doing? I said, I don't know, but I'm doing organogram for these people, and it's from their board downwards. He said, oh, so that means God has approved for you to go to that place. I said, what? He said, yes, if he did approve, he will give you organogram. So later the founder called me and said, I don't know if I'm going to work with you guys, but I actually have an organogram for you. It doesn't matter whether I work with you or not. I just want to give it to you as my contribution. He called a meeting, they looked at it and they're like, you need to come and join us. They were planning that if they got somebody, they will hire a consultant to help them restructure. And here I was, I'd not even joined one. So, I never had an interview. I never applied. Yeah. The role was not advertised. I just resumed it.
Wow.
So that's what has been for the past 2 years. And it's as if it gave me a platform to run with the things that are written in the book. Why did I write the book? That's another question.
Yes.
I wanted to be part of Agenda 2063. I love strategy implementing. You remember HEPES 2020? So when I saw Africa has Agenda 2063, I was like, wow, finally, because I had been following the Chinese 100 decade, one century plan of 100 years. So I was like, see, China, they are doing this. Then when I announced that Africa has, I started reading up about it. And I wanted to be part of the team that was doing that. And that time, even the chair of the AU was His Excellency Paul Kagame. I wrote him a letter. And I sent it by DHL that I want to be on that team.
Whoa.
I didn't get a response. Then I met His Excellency Obasanjo, and I told him I wanted to be on that team. He said, oh, really? I should send a letter. I sent a letter to him about DHL. I didn't get a response. So when I tried again, I wrote another one to the AU. They didn't answer me. So I said, Lucy, you know what? Put it in a book and throw it out there. In your spirit, you will know that you have contributed, even if you're not in the team. And that was how I wrote the book. So when APSS came calling, I was like, yes, I have a platform. And that's a job I can do for free. So I've been with them for 2 years. I signed up for 3 years. I'm also looking at it as a client.
That mindset.
You know, when you have that mindset of your employer as your client, your attitude to work is different. It's extremely different.
Sure.
So I have that mindset that APSS is my client, and I have some milestone that I want them to achieve. Once they achieve that, then maybe I would I'll see what God brings again.
Beautiful. It's a very interesting journey, and it's a journey that's full of impact. But I think I will doing the audience a disservice, without letting them see what the book looks like. Dr. Lucy is the author of this amazing book. It's a 158-page book. Very small, but very well packed, with clear roadmap, strategy on organizational governance, and even how Africa can gear up in ensuring that we attain the goals come 2063. The book is called African Leaders Tete a Tete. Navigating tete a tete.
It's French.
Oh, tete a tete.
Head to head.
Oh, okay.
It's like a conversation. We put our head together.
Interesting. Navigating entity designs and prioritizing for systemic outcomes. When I was doing a bit of research around the book, I understood that you got the inspiration, while driving, in Paris, at the time, and you, like you've alluded to, you travel a lot, and you get inspirations like that. Yes, I understand the big picture around why you wrote the book, but bringing it back to people, and impact, what exactly do you project for Africa come 2063?
Okay. For the first time, people know us as people who don't plan. Maybe because across the continent, we're almost having summer all year round, except for some few locations. And we know that countries that have harsh weather transitions, if you don't plan for winter, you'll be dead. But for us, it's almost like summer all year round. We have dry season, rainy season. This, you can cope. So what I project for Africa is, especially now, Africa is so blessed. We have so much natural resources under the earth, even the air, the wind. As I said, summer all year round. We have more sunshine, even almost too much sunshine. We are surrounded 3.5 sides oceanic.
True.
So hydro, and all that. So in all that, this level of poverty is unforgivable. And we also have a young, dynamic population. But we have also been victims of things of the past. Most people talk about the transatlantic slave trade. We actually had the trans-Saharan slave trade, and our educational system is not fit for purpose for this time and season. As a result of that, we are not getting the benefit of 1 + 1 + 1 is 5 or 7. 1 + 1 + 1 shouldn't be 3 or 4. It should be 5 or 7 or 9 based on synergy and leverage. However, Africa is so fragmented. We have how many languages? Arabic, Swahili, Portuguese, French, English. These are the major official ones. Like how many tribes do we have in Nigeria? So, but with that, we can't communicate effectively with one another. That's one limitation. The second side is the borders. The national borders are so deep and entrenched that somebody across that side is seen as another person. We're all related. We're all one continent. I saw an interview by Professor Jeffrey Sachs. He was speaking and he said, India is so wholesome and making advancement. China is doing that. Africa can't do that because we're broken into 55 blocks. And that the benefit of Africa growing is to be integrated. When we're integrated, and that's why this Africa Continental Free Trade Area and the Agenda 2063, and hopefully the road networks that will connect us, the rail lines that will connect us, the airline networks that will connect us, that we can trade with one another. How many currencies in what space? Meanwhile, with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we have access to being the largest trade bloc ever since World Trade Organization. And our heads of states, out of some divine wisdom, Somehow, we have the 50-year strategy plan. We've done 10 years. This is the second implementation block of 10 years. There are 5 blocks. We've done the first block. This is the 5th block. I see Africa waking up. There's an awakening. Not just Africans at home, but even Africans in the diaspora who want to participate in Africa's transformation. Instead of us lamenting about aid being removed and all that, I think we should look at this and embrace these challenges and work on ourselves. And there is no limit we cannot achieve because we already have the youthful population. Africans are very good people. We're also very curious people. And unfortunately, we have been gaslighted by some sectors of the global world, like the foreign media and all that. They don't talk about the good things that's happening in Africa. They only show pictures of children that are hungry and walking in the street. Every continent has those things. However, we need to talk to ourselves and then our leaders. There was a time we had leaders like Kwame Nkrumah, Nyerere, and these people who fought for our independence. We need a new crop of leaders who are very patriotic, who understand how the world works. And also we need ourselves to be educated because I see the African youth is abused, because self-awareness is missing. Education, you're given skills that are not functional. So you go to school, come out very educated, but you can't deliver value. Then also, the leaderships that we have had at various levels tend to make it look as if you don't have an idea. You should just sit down and receive the idea. But some countries around Africa, I have traveled, I have seen some countries, they engage the youth in policy formulation. And there's a country that I have been to that when they have a public event, they make sure that the demography of the people that are in the audience is a representative of the demography of the people in the country. I saw that and it's an East African country, and I saw that
Is that Kenya?
in my work, I shall not name names, but okay. I saw that it's not Kenya. Okay, I'll tell you. I went to Tanzania and I had an event and I looked across and I was like, oh, they said the people at that audience, they were cross sectors of the demography. So that takes us to the other side. Many countries in Africa do not even know how many people there are. Then also many countries in Africa have, if you look at the countries in Africa that have been making leaps and bounds of progress in the past 10, 15 years, check what they have done. Most of them have updated their constitution or come out with a new constitution that puts them in a position to align with Agenda 2063, and they are running with Agenda 2063. And they have also done census. Some of them have done 2 censuses. They do every 10 years so that they use the census number not to determine how many polling booths. No. They use the census number to determine the services the government has to provide, whether they need to provide hospitals or schools or roads or market or something like that. So when we have that, then we have data. And if you have demographic data, there's limitless opportunities for you. But we also have a problem. If you call these our 55 countries together and tell them to name the sectors in their economy, the names come from all over the place. As a continent, we need a taxonomy of sectoral nomenclature. So that if I'm in Gambia, if I call this sector, whether I'm in Kenya or in Egypt or in South Africa, it's the same sector. So that when you are collecting data, you have clarity, you can cascade by various levels. And if you have an intervention, you can do it with scientific precision and you can plan. But this issue of census data, this issue of constitutions that are live and are enablers for the country to achieve Agenda 2063 issues, because once you come with some issues in the Agenda 2063, you want to pass it in some countries, the constitution is not an enabler to pass those things. So that's a stumbling block already. Then the issue of type of education, our curriculum is not fit for purpose for the 4th industrial revolution. That's one. Then the other one is the engagement. Our governments must learn to speak to the people and listen and receive feedback with a good, open mind. In doing that, people have a stake in what you're doing, and you have feedback, and people feel safe to express. And then also, the citizens need to know that as long as you can pay your tax and you're of a voting age, you have a right. And the public servants and those working in nominated and elected offices are serving at your behest. And they owe accountability for the collective resource and transparency to the citizens. When we start to do that, then we can move into the space that is already waiting for Africa. The world awaits for Africa's transformation. And it starts with individuals. In some continents, by the time a child is 10 years, that child knows his or her responsibility to one another, accountability to even the earth, and sustainability, and responsibilities to the collective state. So, but in our educational orientation, we don't teach leadership from the base. Some private schools are doing. Like, I went to a primary school and I saw 7 habits of highly effective people. And I was like, what? So my curious self, and I said, tell me which habit. We say if you want to start with the end in mind, tell me how it works. The child got up and told me that if I want to pass and do well in my school tomorrow, and I want to practice starting with the end in mind, when I get home today, I should do my homework, I should take my nap, I should arrange my uniform for tomorrow. When I wake up tomorrow, I will not be late, I'll get to class, and when I get to class, when my teacher is asking questions, I'll be ready to answer. I was like, what? I have met working adults that cannot. I also say, what is win-win? They say, if I'm doing something and my colleagues help me, when they're clapping for me and applauding me, I should call my colleagues to come and stand with me so that they will know that it's all of us that worked. So those kind of small skills and habits are very important for us to imbibe from the moment a child can talk in the first, second dimension is very important, because right now we have adults who can only relate in the first and second dimension. That's like me and you talking. And they can try to talk in the third dimension, but they can't talk in the fourth dimension. And creativity is in the fourth dimension. Virtual reality is in the fourth dimension, where you can imagine things you do not see and you can make it look like it is real. So because of that way of conditioning our mind, and the brain is like a muscle. If you exercise it, it will stretch. If you don't exercise it, so this issue of stunted growth, nutrition, child upbringing, maternal health, it's directly almost proportional to the kind of society we are building. So I pray for a future in Africa whereby we will have the humility to go back to the building blocks and the openness to share best practices. We don't need to copy hook, line, and sinker what has happened in Northern Hemisphere. African culture has originated in an organic manner. And that organic manner is what Asia does that a lot. They don't have any apologies for their cultures and their values. And yet they add it with the modernization. And that brings you a wholesome, modern, blended with culture and tradition, and still open to new ideas. Africa needs to do that. We are already seeing that in our creative industry. It's blossoming. I wish that we'll see that in education, we'll see that in manufacturing, we'll see that in health. Everybody's still studying why COVID did not do damage in Africa. Why? There's a reason. We'll find out and we work on it, and we use it to fight other immuno diseases. So those kind of things, that's why people like me are very excited about Africa. This is the African season, and I just pray that we will not miss it.
Yes, let's miss it. This book is super packed. I mean, she said so much, but practical steps on how to unlock the full potentials of Africa is here. It's available everywhere. Amazon, you can get it on Amazon.
And digital platforms. In Amazon is print on demand. But all the digital platforms is existing in e-copy. So one of the things I advise people to do is, you're not too sure of it, don't worry. Go get an e-book, read it, Some parts of the book are like, it's like a manual where you do it yourself, you plan. So if you read it and you like it, then you buy the paperback, and some people buy the hardcover, then because there's a portion in it where you do your own planning, then it becomes your plan and you can work with it. It's not just a book to read and keep on the bookshelf.
Awesome. You should get yours. I have mine, now, autographed by the great Dr. Lucy herself, but I strongly recommend, you get a copy of the book. I want to go a bit further, drill down into what you said, some of the things you said. To many of us as Africans, right, especially young people, yes, we dream of a better Africa. We see it happening sometime in the future, but there's that lacuna of not knowing when it would happen. And I strongly believe that most of us as African young people, we talk more than we do, and maybe not to the fault of ours, just maybe because we don't have a clear sense of what to do, and we depend on political leaders. But I want to try to, and I hope we can unpack this. I want to try to move beyond politics now to talk about people, and also talk about professionals, the role that, quote unquote, the middle class, or professionals, have to play in birthing that Africa of our dreams. So in your experience, and the amazing work you've done, what recommendations would you give to young Africans, in their 18 years old to maybe 30, 40? What recommendations can you give to us to help us tap into our inner selves and also build, like, actual put our hands down, dirty, fold our sleeves and get to work, and not imagine that someone from somewhere is coming to save us?
Yes. Very good question. And to take it, I want to look it like that. Like when they say children are very naughty, I would like to say, let me start with the parents. So, as a leader, some people are in leadership and they're happy to be the only person on the stage. But as a leader, if you're the only person on the stage, you've not succeeded. You need to have people with you on the stage, people that you have allowed to practice what you are doing with you around to correct them and guide them. So I would like, and that's one of the reasons why I was very happy about what you're doing, because you are bringing people who are the professionals who have grown in the system to share their secrets of their path so that others would learn from that. All of us do not have time to do one-on-one with everybody, but with this podcast, you can distribute it and somebody can read it and listen to it and try to practice it. So that opportunity for mentorship and for coaching, and even if you are in a role in an organization, try to look at the people to see who has skills to replace you in 10 years. Try to download what you have in them. Make developing leaders a hobby. Somebody like me, maybe because of my upbringing, our parents, my father and my mother used to bring people from the village. They stay with us, send them to school, they spend some time at home and they go there. And over time, these people have now become leaders in themselves. So every organization I've always worked in, I personally take interest in the person. I try to know the person one-on-one. I try to know what are their dreams. I try to share my own dreams and ask them if there's a way I can support through their direct report. And during that process, my intention is, if I've worked with you for 6 months, what have you learned from me if we're to part ways? And by the grace of God, I have so many people now that are fantastic, doing awesome things in their places of work. And sometimes they call me and say, oh, Dr. Lucy, this is what you did. I was like, really? But I rejoice with them. And I also, as I move around the continent, I see opportunities. I share requests for applications with them, and sometimes they walk through it and they succeed. And we say, hey, we celebrate together. And we know that these people are getting opportunities. Do not climb the ladder and kick it off. Leave the ladder there for people to climb. That's for the people in my set. Now, the young people coming up, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes hard work. And it takes hard work and diligence. And it's not every role that you must earn from.
It's not every role you must earn from.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Most times there's an organization that did first 40 jobs. They did a project. It's called First 40 Jobs. I think they're still there. I'm not running advert for her. She's my friend. She's the owner of Poise. She just saw this issue of get rich quick and all that. She did a project called First 40 Jobs. She got 40 people to talk about how they started their career and how they grew into their career. What did they start doing from, and then compared to where they are today. And I was privileged to be one of those. I shared that my first job, I was a personal assistant to my mother, who was a fashion designer and a homemaker. I used to keep records of her customers and follow her to her customers. And we come back and I stitch some things. And what was my pay? I don't have any pay. The only privilege I have is that if I want to make anything, I have the liberty to use a sewing machine to make whatever I want. And I used to follow my dad to his pharmacy. And I follow them, I have some days for her, I have some days for him. And I follow him to the pharmacy early in the morning. We leave the house around 7 o'clock. We come back like 7. During that time, I check his record of store medications and check their expiry date. I balance his books. I check the permits that he needs to update to make sure that this. And I was doing that. What was my pay with my father? Nothing. The only thing is that when we pack the food, when we're going to eat, we eat it together with my dad. And if my mother put the gizzard inside, I'm going to be... Because if it was at home, I would get the gizzard. But I with my dad, I'm going to eat the gizzard and I'm going to eat the chicken lamb. So those kind of things. And I've also had opportunity. There's one of my sons that is now reading architecture. When he was here, before he went to university, he studied. And he served in a law firm and he was not being paid anything. In fact, we were even subsidizing for him to go to law firm. Why? Because he wanted to study architecture. It's good to know how you get your permits from the government, to know how you get probate things, what happens after properties and all that. Thereafter, he got to serve with a very big architectural firm. And in that architectural firm, when he came by, he said, they're only going to pay you 20,000. I said, you know what, even if they're not paying you, I'm going to be giving you transport to go there so that you can get the experience. Because right now he has the name of that architectural firm on his profile. And when people see, they say, you mean you worked in that organization? They say, yeah. So as a young person, put the experience you get above any financial benefit. And your mentor may not give you a job. Your mentor may not give you money, but from your mentor, you will study their path and you will learn. You don't need to enter a hole and smash your leg before you know there's a hole. But if you, in mentorship, you will know there's a pothole here, there's a landmine here, avoid it. Then you define your own path. And there's another side. You don't have to be a duplicate copy of your mentor. And know that your mentors and your coaches are not perfect human beings. Because many people also say, that person is my mentor. And then you find out that this mentor has a funny thing in this area of their life. And you say, I've given up, my mentor is not good. No, your mentor is a human being. Your mentor is not a perfect human being. Get the excellent part of that mentor and add to what you are as your experience. So that hard work is very important. Commitment, staying power is very important. Ability to be open-minded, to see how, when opportunities come, there's no time for preparation.
Sure.
You prepare before opportunity. Success happens when preparation meets opportunity. Many people also do not have soft skills, self-awareness. Am I too much of a talkative? Like me, I got to know that I talk a lot. I talk, if you give me something to talk about, if I don't know that thing or I'm not passionate about it, I say, I'm sorry. I only talk about what I'm passionate about. And if I'm talking about what I'm passionate about, I know I can go too long, so I can get one of my colleagues to stay in the audience, keep a time and be doing like this to me, so that I will know that, okay, Lucy, you're talking too much. So, because I know that if I'm passionate about something, I can go on and on and on and on, like I'm doing now that we are talking. So, that is very, very important. Then the other side is the issue of learning. I know that it's good to read. Right now, most people like to take content that is video, audio, because they're too busy. There's something about reading a text. You learn the spellings. I have worked with many people and I've seen that we're losing spelling skills. Because if you have been listening to video and you've been listening to audio and you've not read text, your lexis and structure will be bad.
True.
And in leadership, when you become a leader, when you write, respect should come through that writing. When you send a memo or a letter, people should see what you have written and want to meet you. But I see people don't pay attention to reading anymore. And that is very important. And to read everything. When we're growing up, my father used to make us stay back and listen to the NTA news. And we'll have a discussion. And then you bring all the newspaper, drop it and say, if we read it, let's discuss. What did you see inside? Before we knew it, we were getting self-aware about things in the national space. Didn't mean that we're going to be political. We're still going to be in our field. But being self-aware and knowing things. Then the other one that I see a lot, being nice to everybody as much as possible. Like I used to say that some people are your destiny gatekeepers. Because you have an attitude of disrespect of human beings, you've missed opportunities, because that person that you looked at who was like a gate man, you don't know whether he's a cousin of somebody that you were looking for. Because you saw him today that he's a gate man, you think you've arrived and you can't even say good morning, even though he's older than you. Honor people. If you honor people, it's not that the people would give you anything. It's that you will go back knowing that you've been kind to somebody, and destiny will be kind to you, and you never can tell when or in what form. And the world is such a small place. If you're nasty to this person today, you'll be surprised. There's an organization I know, when they have interviews, they'll drop things on the staircase and there's a CCTV camera. They're watching who are the people that are going to pick what is on the floor. Those who just pass by, in terms of empathy and self-awareness, they will lose some marks. But those who look at what is on the ground, they pick it and they look for a dustbin, they get recognized. Many people don't do that. Some organizations also actually invite you to lunch, and that lunch is part of your assessment. They want to see your relationship with food. Most times, your relationship with food reveals your relationship with money.
How? Can you please explain a bit back?
So, most times, if you don't have a control of your appetite, now we're getting into psychology. I want to put a disclaimer here. I'm not a professional psychologist. I'm a human performance technologist. Behaviors of people, and you can predict what they are likely to do. So most times, people who are very gluttonous, like if you go for a buffet and you put okra soup and you put jollof rice together and you put spaghetti and pasta and all of them are on your plate, it means a problem of decision and choice, and you want everything. So if I put you in charge of resources, what are you going to do?
You'll not be decisive.
You will not be decisive, and you might take almost everything. You may not remember the people that are working with you. So most people use that lunch invitation to assess your relationship with resources at your disposal.
Interesting. I love that. I want to delve back a little to something you had mentioned earlier, right? So you started your career in 1987, dealing with people as human resource. You grew from talent management to reward management. Going back to those early days, right? How would you say that those early skills you had picked up from people management at that level also contributed to you being able to excel as a consultant? Because obviously being an HR, you understand back office. You're the middleman, between the board and the average, the gate man, the John Doe. How would you say that those skills in those early days has helped you or even shaped you to become, the amazing person that you are now professionally?
Yes, I think three things helped me. Three things helped me. My background. My parents were very open to people. Our house, they sponsored a lot of people in their extended family. My father was an advocate for education. My mother was an advocate for spirituality and godliness. So right from the beginning, they made us know that We're their biological children, but they have children that God has given them, and we're going to share them with all these people. So we got people in our space. And despite that, they did not abandon us, but they were somehow able to manage the entire spectrum. And we still had the connection of parenthood. And the people who maybe did not have good parenthood at home, they felt part of the family. So with that, and my mother was a community leader, she was a leader of women, my father was a church leader. So people were core of our growing up. Now that's one side. The second side also is, because of that core of our growing up, our parents believed in mentorship. My mother was an advocate of choosing mentors for us in the extended family. Once you say, I'm going to follow this line, she'll find somebody in the extended family and say, see my child, she wants to follow you in your line, teach her everything. She was doing that, So that's the family side. One aspect also of that family side was godliness, whereby it's not religion, it's a relationship with a senior father. So if you commit any bad thing, my dad will wake you up early in the morning and tell you how that bad behavior you did, you had first of all offended God and not him. So in all that you do, as you see people, we as human beings, we tend to see people and judge them based on what we have heard about them. And as a result of that, we have a judgment call. But when God sees people, he doesn't look at their past, he looks at their potential. Even if that person is like lily livered now, he calls the person by the name that that person is going to be. So that attitude of seeing somebody and saying, wow, this guy is like this, but this guy can be like that. So it's that attitude of looking at people and wanting to be part of this person's journey. That was what they saw in PwC and gave me a staff champion in the business directorate, whereby you see people and it's not duty. You feel just drawn and interested in people, wanting to help and support people to achieve their objective. And the funny thing about leadership is that if you genuinely care about somebody and you want the person to come out its better self, sometimes even to the extent that the person has not been aware of his capacity, and you celebrate them and you lift them up, you're also lifting yourself. Because as they go up, when they ask them, who brought you here? You say, oh, then automatically they're also dragging you along with them. So that aspect and the trainings that I got is very important. But one thing I also want to say is that in place of your journey, you can meet people who are just like as if they're on assignment to make your life miserable. People from hell, customer from hell, bosses from hell. What you need to do as your personal self is to say, this is a future I want for myself. Am I going to respond to what this person is doing to me? Because when you respond, it means you've given them permission to alter your course. There was a time I was on a project, and the person that was, because we used to have an arrangement whereby the project manager can be junior to you, and you are the expert and you are senior, and the project manager is the CEO of that project. And some project managers can be very saucy. And some of my colleagues will look at the behavior of that person and say, I'm going to leave this project. Me, I will look at the project and say, tomorrow if I put this project on my CV, what value will it be of? Do you understand?
Yeah.
And if it's going to be something fantastic, I'm not going to give this person the mischief permission to deny me of having that. So I'm going to overlook this person, I'll tolerate this person, I can be doing passive aggressive, and I'll be managing this person. My focus is on finishing the project and finishing well. Because if I respond to this person's behavior and I walk away from that project, I've given that person permission to alter my destiny. So that ability to decipher what's most important and agree that I'll stick with it and I'll finish it is very important, because life is difficult. You're going to meet all kinds of obstacles. And if you're not able to discern what you want and whom you are, there's so many things that will just throw you off course. And later on in life, when you see the mirror, you will not recognize the person that is in the mirror. And that's a very sad state to be. So that capacity to see what you want to do, know what you want to do, decide that this is important and overlook everything. And if it is not working, take a walk, but stay, as I used to tell my mentees, get back on the horse. You can fall down, you can bruise your leg, but always get back on the horse. The horse is your destination. That's what. I hope that
The
has
horse
answered.
is your destination.
Yeah, you're a horse person. You're going somewhere.
Yeah.
You can fall off the horse. You can do this, but always get back on the horse and continue.
Beautiful. I love that. I want to go back to something you said in line with what you just discussed. We have just 2 more questions before we let you go. Just 2 more.
Your interviews are
Just 2 more,
yes,
actually. But
please.
this one, I want to tap into the core of our being as humans.
Thank you.
Right? From what you said now. You find very quickly that most persons do not know themselves or are not conscious. And you allude to the fact that some persons are even self-aware, even in workplaces. If for the purpose of a 25-year-old boy or girl watching this now, right? He or she's just trying to navigate school, yes, they want to become a doctor, they want to become a whatever, but they're not in tune with their inner selves just yet. What would be your recommendation, to such persons on how they can find themselves and ensure that they achieve or fulfill purpose?
Okay. There are many tools online for personality types. You can take these surveys, your personality type. If you just go online, search personality type, self-assessment, free samples, you fill some questions. The good thing about the assessment is that every 10 years, just try and repeat 5 years because people change over time. So every 5 years, if you repeat it, you find out that some factors are constant. That's the you. But some other factors, they change over time, which is as a result of your growing maturity, new perspectives and all that. Go and check for personality assessments, especially the free ones. There's one that I like particularly, the Johari window. I don't know if you've heard about it. Johari window self-assessment, whereby you get some people to use some words to describe you and you describe yourself. It's quite an interesting thing. When you see what people are using to describe you and what you're describing yourself, and you see whether there's an alignment. And so many of our leaders also think they are the best thing since ice cream. However, people are like, when they're talking, they roll up their eyes. Yeah, I hear you. So being self-aware is very important for you as a leader, because if you're not self-aware, it's like going into a room and your dress is torn and everybody has seen it, but you don't know that your dress is torn. So that is very important. Then the other side is for you to welcome feedback. Welcome feedback, and if you don't get feedback, look for it. Look for that feedback. Ask for the feedback. But most people like to welcome feedback from only the people who are their praise singers. I have learned a lot from people who criticize me. Yes, I want to hear all the criticism. Please bring it on, and I'll lock myself in a room and I'll say, Lucy, talk to yourself. So that is also very important. Then the other one is, I had this conversation with somebody, which is a feedback I gave somebody this week. If integrity or ethics is important to you, and you're working with somebody or living or staying with somebody who is not high on ethics or integrity, at a point in time, you need to decide when it is time to separate. Because if that person is a person of authority over you, or at a time to disengage, because if you stay too long with that person, it will rub off on you and it will affect your own personal brand. You've hung so long near an unethical person. You need to be able to explain it later why you were comfortable in that environment. So, and your personal, my father used to tell us that your greatest asset and your real estate is your name and what people feel about yourself. Some people can just walk into somewhere, people are paying for something because you showed up and they say it is you. They take you to the head of the line and you don't pay anything. So you need to invest your personal name, and your integrity is your most expensive real estate. It's not a house, it's not a car, no. It's your name and your personal reputation.